we're going to talk about picture perfect persuasion. And when I think about picture perfect persuasion, it's really about the visual proof method. What exactly is the visual proof method? Many of us when we're running into the home, we rely heavily upon our communication skills. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a big believer you got to make sure you have good communication skills when you're in the home. But because of communication skills, there now opens a door of the ability to manipulate versus persuade. So when we ask the question, what is the difference between persuasion and manipulation? Somebody unmute yourself real quick. From your perspective, what are some key differences between manipulation and persuasion?
Um, if we manipulate, then we're controlling it. We're making them make a decision. But if we persuade, then they're actually making the decision themselves.
Exactly. Thank you for that. And that's very beautifully put because when you and I, when we are focused on the outcome being what we want it to be, sometimes it could lend to saying and doing things that may distort the truth, blend the truth, or withhold facts. And when you and I do that, we really end up manipulating customers. And I know that we would never intentionally manipulate, right? We're not going to twist facts and lie about things. At least I hope we wouldn't, because that'll certainly get you a very short term in the industry, right? But the crazy part is there's people out there that do it all the time. They lie, cheat, and steal to try to get customers to spend money because they're commission based. And when they're commission based, if customers buy more stuff, they make more money. But I'm going to say today that you can be 100% commission based and be ethical through using persuasion. And clients want information. They want the power to decide. And the challenge is we are the most technical people. And so anything that we share is what they're going to use to base their decision, or they use a little bit of the internet. And that's what we're going to talk about here today is how can we help the customer to gain all the information that they need so that they can make the decision. And once again, when you and I cover ethical ways to help our client to understand what they need, they will take action. And I just want to add a snapshot, give you a concept of here's what persuasion is. Persuasion is really leveraging things to show truth to help customers make decisions. Manipulation is hiding truths to force decisions. And when we use visual proof, we can reveal reality. In other words, when we reveal the facts, we're acting in the client's best interest. And this is persuasion. Visual proof will eliminate doubt and continue to build trust. And your camera, right? Your camera or your tablet, whatever it's on your phone or on your tablet, is going to help protect the customer and your reputation. And remember, education, education, education. All the way through, everything is about education because customers can't decide on things they can't see. So that's where you and I, as a part of our process of running the evaluation, the inspections, that a lot of times we're using verbal descriptions. And our verbal descriptions, while in our mind, if we were talking to one another, we would know what we're talking about. You have to understand the customer doesn't know what we're talking about. They're not the expert. And so when you and I are talking, we can tend to lack credibility, and which in turn decreases a sense of urgency. The doubt that you and I will surface because sometimes you've heard this before, the confused mind says, no, I'm confused. I just won't make a decision. And so what we've got to do is we've got to remove confusion. We've got to remove doubt. We've got to make sure that the doubt leaves about what needs to be done and why, because customers will leave those problems unresolved because they would rather deal with the uncertainty of what you're saying might need to be done. They would rather just deal with things the way that they are now and just let it ride. But if you and I can communicate correctly, we can have visual representations with proof of what needs to be done. the I need to think about it, or hey, can you just leave me that quote, or hey, maybe next time you're out, we'll take care of this, or this one. You ready? Just take care of this today and we'll call you back for the other stuff. Right? And so what that is it's not that the customer doesn't trust you, it's that the customer doesn't trust you. They haven't received enough information to be like, yes, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and take care of it. So reverse of that. Think about what happens when you make a sale. When customers buy from you, they're buying from you because they understand what they're buying and why they're buying it. And remember that like and trust are powerful decision influence, but you need to be able to back up what you're saying with pictures. And so we're removing doubt when we do that, because the old saying is that a picture's worth 1,000 words. And when you and I are in the home, we can use 1,000 words, or we can just simply reference a picture. So with visual proof, you and I can help the customer with immediate understanding. In other words, seeing is believing. We're eliminating the maybe we'll think about it later on, we'll take care of it, we'll call you back. It also creates decision confidence when you and I have visual proof. Photos will remove debate about the problem's severity. You'll be able to quickly show what needs to be done and why. We're going to talk about how we do that in a few moments. But it also increases trust and creates a sense of urgency, because visual evidence, well, it's hard to argue with a picture. I guess in today's world, you could be like, is that an AI generated photo? I don't know if that's real or not, right? So I'm going to show you how we can eliminate that as well. So once again, when we remove all the doubt, the only thing that stands between them and making the decision is the price. So today we've got to help them to understand what needs to be done so that price is not the deciding factor. And let me just stop and ask, do you believe that customers always want to go with the cheapest option? See, a lot of times technicians believe that customers aren't interested in spending money. They don't want to fix it. They don't want to get that done. But if that were the case, then minimum repair companies would be the biggest companies in town because they provide the best customer service. But that's rarely the case. Companies that focus on delivering quality solutions to their customers and technicians that focus on delivering quality solutions to customers, those are the kinds of companies that excel in a marketplace. And the reason why they excel is because they're doing the right thing for customers. So let's talk for a moment about visual proof and arsenal as it relates. Like when I think about tools, right? I think about the tool bag. What can I have in the tool bag that will help my customers to be able to make decisions? Well, there's 3 proof categories. Number 1 is the problem documentation. That's what's going on at their home. Those pictures that we're taking of everything that we see, that's a part of it. The second part of that is, in some cases, an example, if you guys can see the contrast of 2 electrical panels, and I've got a few photos here that I'll show you guys as an example of this, of just what happens when we look at 2 different perspectives. Here's one where the panel's a wreck. Here's another one where the panel's well put together. When you and I can do these kind of things, we're showing evidence and visual proof, right? So here's another example. I could take this picture around all day long and show examples of what's wrong. That's an example of what it's going to look like, but yours looks like this. In addition to that, pictures of after the fact. So what does a good one look like? Because remember, this is called compare and contrast. I'm going to take what yours looks like today. I'm going to compare it to what it should look like and what it should be operating at. And now I'm drawing a contrast between the 2 of these. And as I'm drawing the contrast, the customer is like, if that's what a new one should look like, and this is what mine looks like, now that's where the presentation comes in. You and I have to make sure that we've communicated effectively to our customer. That's where the solutions example, past projects, previous pictures, compare and contrast. And then the third part, customer testimonials, social proof. It is a persuasion principle. Social proof, which means Other people have experienced this. It's not just a me thing. I'm not the only one that's ever had this happen. And so we document everything we find. We build a library of quality installation pictures. And then you and I will start to collect customer success stories with their permission. I'm going to talk about how we leverage that. Well, when we're documenting problems that sell, for those that are not aware, this is actually a close-up picture of a heat exchanger that's cracked. Well, how do I know that's mine? This is where it's important that you and I not just take a picture of it up close, right? So I can take a picture of it up close, right, with the cover off, and maybe it's a water heater, maybe it's the furnace, but then I take what's called a perspective picture. And the perspective picture is the up close and then the step back of the picture where I can see my personal belongings that are in the house. I know that's my property because that's my car. That's my water heater because I see my golf club sitting right beside it. I know that's my furnace in the attic because I see my Christmas decorations beside it. These are things that lend to credibility for you. And remember, seeing is believing. Now, when I'm showing the picture, I don't say, hey, just so that you know that this is yours, let me show you this picture. Like, I don't need to verbalize that. I just say, hey, I just want to, I took a couple of pictures here. And as I'm going through the presentation of pictures, I'm also showing them pictures of damaged or failed components. I'm taking pictures of my gauges or my meter, or I'm taking pictures of my camera if I've got a sewer camera. Anything that could be leveraged later on in the presentation, you've got to make sure that you take pictures so that it becomes a conversation.